can't hear what you whispered. No, I can't. Take two. Sorry about that. As I was saying before, I rudely interrupted myself. We're having a little technical difficulties here. So we will proceed, and I'm going to do another teaching regarding the eighth great day of Sukkot. This is last week was the first day of Sukkot, 7 days of dwelling in booths, and the eighth great day is the final assembly. It's a Sabbath day. It is the last of the Sabbath days of the year. You can actually say Shabbat Shalom to you tonight, because today. Okay, you gotta, whoever it is, gotta mute their phones. I'm hearing myself double, so that's no good. Okay. So, where was I? Just got completely thrown. Okay, it is. There are 52 Sabbaths during the year on the seventh day of the week, right? Our Shabbat Shalom. We do that every week at 7 at 11 a.m. on the Sabbath morning, and then there are also at least 7 additional annual feast day Sabbaths, at least 7, and they're in the spring and in the autumn, and throughout the summer there are first fruit celebrations also, which we've been celebrating the last couple of years, which are amazing. Check out our other series, which is the Bet Tefillah, which is numbered in the bigger numbers. So anyway, and this is the last Sabbath of the year of the annual Sabbaths. It began in the beginning of the year, and we see this amazing symmetry there, because in the spring, the first month, it begins with Passover and the 7 days of unleavened bread. Okay, so you had an 8 days, 7 plus 1, because on Passover you start eating the unleavened bread, so it's connected to Hag HaMatzot, Pesach. So Passover and unleavened bread is an 8-day period, and here we are at the end of the year, the agricultural year, okay, in which we celebrate the 7 days of Sukkot, dwelling in booths, and then there's an amazingly mysterious 8th day, which is also a Sabbath. Okay, so let me go get into that and reading from our book, Leviticus, Vayikra 23:33. But before I do that, Gilbert, if I can have you open in prayer for us.
Yes, sir. Heavenly Father, we thank you once more that we've reached the completion of the 8th day of Sukkot, Father. We ask that you continue to guide us. May you give our host the blessing this evening, dear Father, that the words that will be spoken will be food for feed, will be food for our souls.
Yes, Father.
Father, I thank you once more to be in your presence. Also, to those who are with us this evening via telephone and those via the tube, may you bless us, Father, and I ask that at all times we will be your servant, O Yahuwah. Once more, we give you all honor, glory, and praise in Messiah's name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Okie dokie. So what we're doing now is we're reading from Leviticus 23:33 to 36, and I'm going to be doing the teaching on this great day and how we can experience it, how we can live it, and what it means to us today. And I'm going to try not to repeat myself, because I did an extensive teaching on this past Sabbath. So to get the full rundown, if you haven't checked it out, please do so. It is episode 94, The Mystery of the Eighth Day. And so we are doing filling in a couple of additional points rather than going ahead with Psalm 139 without having Herman. So we want to make sure that we have everything intact and do our best. And not that we're just doing an obligatory thing, but we should recognize Shemini Atseret with the 8th day assembly. So let me go ahead. Verse 33. Then the eternal Yah spoke to Moshe, saying, "Speak to the Bnei Yisrael, the children of Israel, saying, the 15th day of the 7th month shall be a Chag Sukkot, for 7 days to Yahuwah. On the first day, Bayom HaRishon, there shall be a holy convocation, a sacred assembly, a Mikra Kodesh. Kadosh is set apart, distinct, holy, and you shall do no customary work on it. For 7 days you shall offer an offering made by fire to Yahuwah. On the 8th day, Bayom ha-Shemini, you shall have a sacred assembly, and you shall offer an offering made by fire to Yahuwah. It is a sacred assembly and Mikra Kodesh. You shall do no customary work upon it. You shall rejoice before Yahuwah your Elohim for 7 days. Jumping to verse 40. You shall keep it as a feast to Yahuwah for 7 days in the year. 41. You shall dwell in booths for 7 days, and you shall keep the feast of Yahuwah for 7 days. So 7 days, 7 days, 7 days. Okay, so why then are we talking about the 8th day? On the first day there shall be a Shabbaton, and on the 8th day there shall be a Shabbaton. So again, just as Pesach is indelibly connected, the Passover lamb with the unleavened matzah, with no leaven, no sin, no chametz, connected together, and then also the Sukkot, dwelling in for booths in 7 days. By last night, it was the last day to dwell in the booths. Today, the 8th day, we don't dwell in booths, and yet it is a Shabbaton. It is the day of rest and restoration. Nehemiah, the book of Nehemiah 8:18 says, on the 8th day there was a Atseret, okay, according to the prescribed manner. And the word Atseret is to have an assembly. From the root of the word is atzar, which is to enclose, that there's closure, constraint, and stoppage. So hence the idea of the final assembly. Okay. Okie dokie. Alrighty. I pray that everyone has had patience with us and has come back to us, because there's still some amazing facts that we didn't cover Shabbat thoroughly, and that we didn't talk during our service this afternoon at 12 when we had our phone conference service. So this 8th day not only brings the curtain down on Sukkot, but the entire year of the Moedim. It's the end of the agricultural calendar that was given directly to an agrarian society that was functioning with as gardeners and as planters and sowers, truly people of the land, Am Haaretz. And the Am Haaretz were looked upon as the common folk, the unintelligent folk. They're not the ones who are truly enlightened as we are. And the hierarchy within the Jewish circles did not look too cool upon them. And it's again, arrogance that does that, right? So day 7, from where we stand, was yesterday. Day 7 was the day of the last day of the feast. The last day of the feast. It's within that context that the waters of libation are being poured out. And Messiah says, if anyone thirsts, let him come to me. And great events taking place on the last great day, in which Hoshana Rabbah, the great salvation, Messiah, we have Mashiach, who is the great salvation, who represents the salvation of Yah. Okay? I'm just taking a peek. Wanda, hola, mujer. Unfortunately, your hermano is having troubles with his electricity, so we're not doing our regular psalm reading, but we are back to that next week's. But still, by all means, hang with us. Okay? So again, we are in the 8th day, Shemini. Okay? Yesterday was the 7th day. Yesterday was the millennial reign of the Messiah, the son of David. The 7th day, the 7,000th year. Okay? The 7,000th year is that 1,000-year millennial reign. We are currently in day 6, the day of man, the day of man's amazing things. I mean, we're talking about flying out into the atmosphere and developing all these different inventions and such. So this is the day of man, where man is considered the divine in many ways. Okay, so yesterday was the millennial kingdom of the restored Davidic king, but today, the 8th day, the day of the hereafter. This is the beyond. This is the happily ever after phase of our existence. We get to begin to experience this wonderful time. Okay, the day of the hereafter is the day of the new existence, the new reality. And I'm going to go to the book of Numbers, aka also known as Bamidbar, in the wilderness. And I'm going to read from chapter 29. And I'm going to read from Barabadingo, let's see, verse 12 to 40. 12 to 40, okay? On the 15th day of the 7th month, you shall have a holy convocation. You shall do no customary work. And you shall keep a feast, a chag, to Yahuwah for 7 days. And here we're going to get into the sacrifices. So it may sound kind of boring to some, but we're going to see something great in this as well, okay? You shall present a burnt offering, an offering made by fire as a sweet aroma to the eternal Yah. 13 young bulls, 2 rams, 14 lambs in their first year. They shall be without blemish. Okay, so get that. The first day, 13 bulls. The grain offering shall be of a fine flour mixed with oil, 3/10 of an ephah for each of the 13 bulls, 2/10 for each of the 2 rams, and 1/10 for each of the 14 lambs. Also, 1 kid of the goats as a sin offering, besides the regular burnt offering, its grain offering, and its drink offering. On the second day, present 12 young bulls, 2 rams, 14 lambs in their first year without blemish, and their grain offering and their drink offering for the bulls, for the rams, for the lambs, and by their number, according to the ordinance. Also, 1 kid of the goats as a sin offering, besides the regular burnt offering with its grain offerings and their drink offerings. Okay, bear with me. On the third day, present 11 bulls. So you got the theme here. 13, 12, 11. Okay. 11 bulls, 2 rams, 14 lambs in their first year without blemish, and their grain offering and their drink offering for the bulls, for the rams, and for their lambs by their number according to the ordinance. Also, 1 goat for the sin offering, besides the regular burnt offerings and grain offerings, its drink offerings. On the 4th day, present 10 bulls. Again, 2 rams, 14 lambs in their first year without blemish, their grain offering and their drink offering for the bulls, for the rams, and for the lambs by their number according to their ordinance. Also, 1 kid of the goats as a sin offering, besides the regular burnt offerings, its grain offering, and its drink offerings. On the 5th day, present 9 bulls, 2 rams, and 14 lambs in their first year without blemish. You notice nothing else changes. It's only the bulls that are changing here, okay? Boom, boom. On the 5th day, present 9 bulls, 2 rams, 14 lambs in their first year without blemish, and their grain offering and their drink offerings for the bulls, for the rams, for the lambs, by their number according to the ordinance. Also, 1 goat for a sin offering, besides the regular burnt offerings, its grain offering, and its drink offerings. On the 6th day, we're counting down, we're coming down. On the 6th day, present 8 bulls, 2 rams, 14 lambs in their first year without blemish, and their grain offering and their drink offerings for the bulls, for the rams, and for their lambs, by the number according to their ordinance. Also, 1 goat for a sin offering, beside the regular burnt offerings, grain offerings, and its drink offerings. On the 7th day, here we go, present 7 bulls, 2 rams, 14 lambs in their first year without blemish, and their grain offering and their drink offerings for the bulls, for the rams, and for the lambs by their number according to the ordinance. Also, 1 goat for the sin offering, and besides the regular burnt offerings, its grain offerings, and its drink offerings. Okay, so here we see the 7 days of Sukkot, dwelling in booths. Okay, we go 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7. Okay, we add them up, we come to 70. You know, I'm a math genius. Beware of that. Okay, so we have 70 bulls. What does that represent? It represents the nations. It represents the number of the children of Israel in Exodus 1 verse 5. Talks about the Bnei Israel were 70. Okay, and the nations would be numbered according to the children of Israel. Okay, so 70. The nations are the 70. Always symbolic of 70, 7-0. Okay, so what does this tell us? The bull. And when we look at the Hebrew letters, the first letter is Aleph, which is the strength. Aleph and the letter Lamet, El, is the name we get, Elohim and Elohai. El is the primary, the superior strength, okay? Also the bull. So the nations and the bulls are significant because they are the primary offering, the most significant offering, the biggest offering, right? It's when we think of offering a goat or a lamb or a ram, which could be trouble, a bull is a significantly bigger creature, right? A bigger animal. And the strength of the nations. And we see something interesting here, because when we are counting up the first fruits during the course of the year, we would count up 7 Sabbaths, and the day after the 7th Sabbath, the continuous action of number 7, the day after the 49, the 7 sevens, continuous action, is the 50th day. So we build up, we count up, we count the Omer, right? We're counting the Omer. We're counting the Sabbaths. Sabbath 1, Sabbath 2, 7 Sabbaths. And then at the end of the 7th Sabbath is the 50th day. So we count up, even as Yaakov saw the stairway or saw the ladder, the ziggurat, the step pyramid that goes upwards, and he saw Elohim at the top, Yahuwah at the top, and Malachim, angels, ascending and descending upon these stairs. And Messiah referred to himself in Yochanan as Messiah is that the Malachim ascend and descend upon him. They get their permission, they get their go-ahead from Messiah, who gives them their marching orders. Okay? So, let's see. So Yaakov, again, he offers, he sees this place as an amazing place. He anoints the stone. He pours oil on it. So when he finishes his task, he will return to that place. I'm going to touch on this coming Sabbath also. But again, this is the sacrifices of the bulls, and whereas the Moedim, the Bikorim, because he is the Bikor, Messiah is the Bikor. He's the first fruit. We are the first fruits with an S. We are the Bikorim. So he is the Bikor. He's the primary, and we are those who follow him and do what he does, think how he thinks, etc., and so forth. And so we are building up for that next event, that next offering, building ourselves up. Hey, I'm in no way am I ready for this. Well, okay, it's not tomorrow. You count up 7 Sabbaths as you grow, as you learn, as you prepare yourself. On that 7th Sabbath, you're ready. And the next day, you make your offering. Okay? So whereas the first fruits are accounting up the influence of Yah, Messiah, who are the steps. He is the steps. He is the ladder. He is the connecting power that leads us to Yah. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one can come to the Father unless you take my staircase, unless you take my ladder. I am the only way. And I provide a way for the Malachim to come down and minister to you. They ascend and they descend. So we have this teaching of Messiah is always climbing upwards, always moving up. Sanctification is getting more and more kadosh, to be as he is, to be holy as he is holy, to be set apart as he is set apart. It's not a stairway downwards, it's a stairway upwards. We don't want to go down to the basement. We're going to the top floor. And some of us, our elevators don't always go to the top floor, but you got to hit the button a couple times and you'll reach the top floor. But I say that because we see the bulls, the powerful bulls. They are in the descending order in their influence upon us and upon the world. They are not in charge. The eternal Yahweh is in charge. He's the one who's running the thing. The adversary is somebody who just seeks to destroy. He can only affect that which is already is. If you're a kadosh person, he can only attempt to make you a non-kadosh person. Okay? And he seeks to undo. He makes that which is beautiful ugly. He makes that which is life death. That he makes what light is into darkness, and so on and so forth. So we see the diminishing influence of the nations in this sacrifice, this final atoning sacrifice. Sukkot again represents Yahweh dwelling with us in the form of Messiah. We read Zechariah 14, where Elohim is on the earth, sitting on his throne in Yerushalayim, and all those who would come up and celebrate Sukkot, Feast of Tabernacles, every year for 7 days they would celebrate. Okay? And we see that Messiah celebrated this in Yochanan chapter 7. And so Messiah will be Yahuwah. He will be Elohim on the throne. Okay? That is the millennial kingdom. And again, all the nations have to keep this great feast. You read this for yourself. I don't want to spend too much time going back in there. But read about that in Zechariah, the book of Zechariah chapter 14. The whole chapter. We see that the nations who do not come up and pay homage to the Messiah will be punished, not with destruction, but withholding the rains. So their agriculture is going to suffer. And it's all about fruit. It's all about bearing fruit for Yah. It's all about being productive, even as Messiah says, I'm the vine, you are the branches. Those who produce fruit, the Father comes and makes it so that you're going to produce more, and so on and so forth. Those that produce nothing, he cuts away, because evidently it's dead. It's lifeless. So that's cut off and tossed away. So Messiah says, as long as you may know, the Greek word, as long as you remain, or as long as you abide in me, I will abide in you. For without me, you can do nothing. And with me, in me, and me and you, we can produce great things together. Okay? So let me go back to the text here. Okay? On the 8th day, you shall hold the sacred assembly. You shall do no customary work. You shall present a burnt offering, an offering made by fire, a sweet aroma to Yahuwah. One bull. Okay? One bull. One bull, one ram, not two. Only 7 lambs, not 14. Still only one goat as a sin offering that remains. Okay? But there's only one bull now. So that would make 71. But no, the 770 stay with the 7 days of Sukkot dwelling in the booths. Now you're out of the booth. You've emerged from the booth. You are a new creation. You are in the next phase. You are a resurrected spirit being, in essence, okay? Okay, 1 bull, 1 ram, 7 lambs in the first year without blemish, and their grain offerings and their drink offerings for the bull, the ram, and for the lambs, as by their number according to the ordinance. Also, 1 goat is a sin offering besides the regular burnt offerings, the grain offerings, and the drink offerings. You shall present to Yahuwah at your appointed feasts, the Moedim, the appointed times, besides your vowed offerings and your freewill offerings, in addition to that, as your burnt offerings and your grain offerings, drink offerings, and your shalom offerings. So Moshe told the Bnei Israel everything just as Yahuwah commanded Moshe. Okay, so that is from the book of Numbers, Bamidbar, chapter 29. We see a beautiful teaching there about the importance of the eternal Yah, as opposed to the influence of the world, and overcoming the nations, not kowtowing to them or falling to their influence. So it's very important we get that. We get that in that descending manner, okay? The 8th day to us is very mysterious, okay? 7 days, Sukkot is for 7 days, but then he talks about the first day is the Sabbath and the 8th day is the Sabbath. Why doesn't he say the 7th? Because we just described the connection between the last feast and the first feast. They're all connected 8 days, although technically they're 7 plus 1. But for 8 straight days, they are to be kept together. And definitely excellent, okay? And so 7 is the number of perfection. So what does that make 8? 8 is the symbol of eternity. On its side, you see the symbol of eternity, the number beyond. It offers us new beginnings. We remain in Sukkot for 7 days. We emerge and embrace the newness. As a newlywed couple, married couple, enter into the chuppah, which is a type of a sukkah, a shelter, a place of intimacy, the honeymoon place. They exit a married couple. They're changed. In the good old days, they enter into that as 2 virgins. They come out not only no longer virgins, but possibly with the seed of the next generation being created. I knew this couple that they got pregnant right on their honeymoon. Pretty amazing stuff. So that is what we're talking about. And we go to the story of Moshe. Okay, Moshe is very important because he is the lawgiver. He's the teacher. Okay, in Deuteronomy 34, Moses went up from the plains of Moab to Mount Nebo, to the top of Pisgah, which is across from Jericho, and Yahuwah showed him all the land. He showed him all the land, because remember, he lost his temper, and Yahuwah says, okay, sorry, Moshe, you're not going in. You're not going in. Okay? And Yahuwah showed him all the land. And Yahuwah said to him, this is the land of which I swore to give Abraham, to Yitzhak, and Yaakov, saying, I will give it to your descendants. I have caused you to see it with your eyes, and you shall not cross over there. Okay? You shall not cross over there, which is Vashema lo ta'avor. Okay, but there not cross over. You shall not cross over. And the root of that word is avar, which is a transition, a period of transition. Okay, we're sort of in that period right now. We're being built up as a body for Messiah, but it's the now and the not yet that we're dealing with the resurrection and the first fruits of the dead and all these things. We're waiting for these things to happen, but in the meantime, we are to grow and develop with the character of Yah, with the character of Messiah, nothing less but on equal footing, even as the two cherubim on the lid of the ark of Yah, the Aron Yahuwah, the Ark of the Testimony, the Ark of the Covenant, the Berit, and the two cheruvim, they're exactly the same. They're looking at each other. They're also looking down below the lid, which is the Torah. Okay, and the lid, the mercy seat, is Messiah, as illusterium, which is with the word that's used in the book of Romans. But their wings are touching. They're looking, and they're identical. The standard is the same. The two tablets of the Torah are 1 through 10 and 1 through 10. They're not 1 through 5, 6 through 10. No, they are one. They're the original and the copy. They are covenant agreements. And I use this analogy numerous times. We have our life insurance, our car insurance. We have a copy, and the insurance has a copy. So we can say this says over here, and they can say over there, and this says over here. It's got to be obeyed and understood. Okay, so that is the covenant, which we have a copy, they have a copy. And there are people who would want to divide the Torah even further, the mitzvot, and say, well, these are the first 4 are with Yah, and the rest are with man. No, it's 10 or 10, take them or leave them. You can't have a divided Torah. You can't judge the law. Okay, but Moses is told that he cannot go over, he cannot go beyond, go on the opposite side, the regions beyond. That is what he is told. Okay. Okay, I'm trying to edit myself because there's a lot of things I taught already today. We go to Deuteronomy 32:48. Then Yahuwah spoke to Moshe the very same day, saying, go up to the mount of Avarim. Okay, Avarim, which is the plural of Aver. Avar, which is the transition, which is the crossover. So even the mountains that he's allowed to see the land from is a land of the crossover. So he is not going to cross over, but he's in the land which he can see, he can view. Okay? Okay, the crossover, the regions beyond. So it has that mysterious quality to it. Mount Nebo, which is in the land of Moab, across from Jericho, view the land of Canaan, which I give to the Bnei Israel as a possession, and you will die on the mountain which you ascend and be gathered to your people. Because flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of the 8th day. He will be gathered to his people. He will eventually get there, as we see the transfiguration of Messiah on the Mount of Hermon, which is the tallest mountain range and the highest peak in the land of Israel, the range leading right into Syria. And it is there at the foot of that mountain that is the gates of hell. And all the kind of pagan worship, pantheism, all these things related to Pan and goats and guys getting together and getting it on. I mean, it's horrible stuff went down there. All these different pagan sites. And then, ironically, right at the foot of Hermon, because that's the place where we're told that the watchers descended upon the earth and continued to poison society. So a portal was open for them to enter. And it's there in that land, the land of the Galilee of the Gentiles, of the nations, of the pagans, essentially, that he says, who do you say that I am? Who do you say that I am? And Kepha says, you are the Mashiach. And he says, you are Petros. And what you just said is the Petra. The Petra is the giant rock, like Mount Hermon, the biggest rock in the land. That's what the Petra is. The rock of revelation is immense, and it goes through the land. It just doesn't stay there as one little hill. It's all connected. It carries its way across, even as it says in Daniel, that the mountain grew and overcame the whole world. The whole world is the mountain. So The influence of Yah is everlasting, ever-reaching, as opposed to the influence of the world, which is diminishing. And when we celebrate Sukkot, we're declaring that. And Sukkot is the feast of the nations, because all the nations are free to partake of this. It is the feast where he will dwell with us. Messiah was the skenos. He was the tabernacle that he set in our midst. And the Word became flesh, and he dwelt among us. In other words, he pitched his tent in our midst, and we surround him. He's at the core. He's at the nucleus of our Kadosh society. He's the one who's influencing us with truth and life and love and all that is good, all is tov. He is right there at the center. But he is the tabernacle in our midst. He's the sukkah in our midst. Okay? So the flesh and blood cannot cross over. It cannot inherit that. So if our minds are working on flesh and blood, we're not going to get there. We're not going to get there. Okay? We do not focus on the flesh, but on the ruach. Okay? Those who focus on the flesh are going to go the way of all flesh. Those who focus on the ruach are going to go in the way of the ruach. There's no condemnation for those who are Messiah. Okay, no, listen carefully. Those who do not walk according to the flesh, but according to the ruach, not according to the way of the bull and the ox, but the way of the Lamb of Yahuwah, the perfect spotless Lamb. That's the way. That's the way. He will guide you. So in the ruach, Moshe does cross over, and he is seen in that vision, or because Messiah told the inner three that they would. What does this little note here say? Hank B. Even Peter Pan, I think his name was just Peter Pan. He really wasn't Pan, or was he? I don't know. I know he was playing kind of a pan flute type thing. So I hate to shatter your dreams, but I don't think Barry was thinking about Pan, the goat herder, fornicator, seducer. I don't think he was doing that. Pan was a little kid. He wasn't a seducer. Anyway, thanks for pitching in there, Hank. So again, Messiah is on the top of Mount Hermon, and Yochanan, John, Kepha, Peter, and Yaakov, James, come up to the mountain with him. After he said, "Look, some of you who are among you are not going to pass away until you see the kingdom, get a glimpse of the kingdom." And that's what happens on the mount, where he's transfigured. All of a sudden, he's on the peak of this mountain, and all of a sudden, there's this portal in which Moses and which Elijah, the lawgiver and the prophet, are there with him. It says that they were discussing his decease, and they were all glowing. They were all glowing. It was a glimpse into the kingdom that is to come. So Moshe is there in the land. He does eventually make it in the Haba, not in the not in the current day, but in the day to come, he will be there. But also in that portal, the Kepha says, "Should we build Sukkot for all three of you? We will do so." So obviously, it was during the Feast of Tabernacles, Sukkot, and he offers to do that. He doesn't know what else to say, it says. And all of a sudden, the glory cloud covers the mountain, because that is Yahuwah's Sukkah. Because he does this a few times, where he covers the mountain, covers those who go up there, and not like smoke that's going to cause them to cough. It's an embrace of Hashemayim. The Shemayim above us, the first Shemayim is the atmosphere. He comes and comforts us. Relax, but listen to my son, whom I am well pleased with. Listen to him. He's got something to tell you. And so I believe that it was there that the rift that was created by the watchers was sealed by Messiah. And we see later on that there will be another rift opened up somewhere else in the heavens. So stay tuned for that. So anyway, so in Sukkot, we see throughout the New Covenant, we see many different signs of this wonderful event. Okay. So the first day, the first new day is day 8. Old things have passed away, all things are new. There were 8 passengers on the ark, presented a new beginning for humanity. In Revelation, all 7s lead to a new beginning. Completion and fulfillment lead to an even more elevated potential beyond our wildest dreams. Okay, so that's that part there. And I wanted to talk to you about the 8th day, which represents the circumcision which is to put off the old flesh. Okay, that which is to be cut off and severed, even as the covenant is cut. A berit is always cut. Circumcision serves its function according to the Torah, but keeping the commandments of Elohim is what matters. It says in 1 Corinthians 7:19. Keeping of the commandments is essential. And Romans, Shaul says, circumcision is indeed profitable if you keep Torah. But if you are a breaker of Torah, your circumcision has become uncircumcision. And then in verse 29, he says, but he who is a Jew is one inwardly, and circumcision is that of the heart, the lev, in the ruach, not in the letter, whose praise is not from men, but from Elohim. And again, the idea of praise, a play on words, whose Jewishness, Yehuda, is praise. And Philippians 3:3 says, let us therefore put no confidence in the flesh. The flesh, Messiah said that also. Those who were born of the flesh are flesh. That which is born of the ruach is ruach. So we desire to be born of the flesh and of the ruach ultimately. And let's see what we're doing by time. I'm sorry about the way we started. And we have other references of the circumcision of the heart. I think I'm going to leave that, though, so you guys can look that up. Shemini, the word Shemini implies the number after 7. The word implies over and above the 7 and completion. There's a plumpness to that. And in fact, the root of that word is shaman, which is to shine, the oil, the anointing oil, and also fatness, plumpness, abundance, not meager food, but abundant. Okay? Shemen is the richness of the oil. Okay? And shamein is the plenteousness of the oil, the overabundance and overflowing oil of the Ruach anointing pours out and drenches those who live in the Ruach in the 8th day beyond flesh and blood, which cannot inherit the kingdom. Now, I want to look in a controversial portion, Galatians Chapter 6. Yes, I'm going there. I'm going in, boys. Cover me. People are afraid to go into Galatians because they think, oh, our gig is up. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Okay, chapter 6. I'm reading from the New King James. Okay. Okay. Okay, we start with verse 11, right? Yeah. Verse 11, Shaul says, see what large letters I have written to you with my own hand. And this is how he usually would end his letters. He would put it in his own little signature, as opposed to having his aide, his amanuensis, for him to dictate his letters. He would actually write, I'm signing this. I, Shaul, am writing this out. So that's what he's saying here. He's having his hand. Okay. As many as desire to make a good showing in the flesh, these would compel you to be circumcised, only that they may not suffer persecution for the execution stake of Messiah. Okay? So this is not talking about not circumcision. This is talking about those who are scorekeepers, who are keeping numbers, who are obsessed with numbers games and playing holier than thou or more Jewish than thou. And I've been through that whole scene in my life. So as many as desire to make a good showing in the flesh. So again, that's talking about the externals. Circumcision is an external process, external procedure. Okay, what matters is what's happening internally. That's why the circumcision, the Brit Milah of the Lev, is so important. Okay, because anyone can undergo a little surgical procedure, doesn't mean they're anything. In fact, it says that their circumcision becomes uncircumcision if they break the Torah. So it's meaningless there, but it is also beneficial for those who are going to live according to the Torah, according to the commandments, according to the Torah. It's what is a good thing. It's tov. It's a tov thing to do. Okay? So there are those who say you shouldn't do it. There are those, but the point that Shaul is making here, because he was definitely circumcised, and he also circumcised Timothy also. So there are those who would object to circumcision, but that's not what we're talking about. You know, just like in Acts 15, there were those who were formerly of the Pharisaic traditions, the rabbinic tradition in essence, who said that, well, in order to be saved, in order to be a believer, you have to be circumcised. You say, no. And they go on to say, well, Let the nations, let those who have the goyim, the nations, those who are of the assimilated tribes, in essence, learn slowly. They will partake of ritually clean things, no strangled animals, no blood, etc., etc. And because everywhere they live, ultimately there's going to be a synagogue. There's going to be a place where Moses is read, and let them learn at the pace that they're capable of understanding. So that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. Not that circumcision is a bad thing, but this is like a bean counter. That's what it is. All this competitiveness in the body of Messiah, which is foolish. If we're not working together and realizing that if we're truly serving Yah, that we are one. Oh, wait. If we're one, that means somebody's got to be in charge. So I vote for me. Okay, I'll be in charge. Okay, I got the most gray hairs. I got the longest facial hair because I'm too lazy to trim it. Okay, so obviously I should be in charge, right? Okay, they make a good showing in the flesh. They're doing things to impress others. We walk by faith, not by sight. These would compel you to be circumcised, only that they may not suffer persecution for the sake of the execution stake of Messiah. So they don't want to be seen as doing anything wrong, doing anything that's pertaining to the Brit Chadashah, but they will, in order not to be persecuted. For not even those who are circumcised keep the Torah. Not speaking about everyone, but even those who are circumcised necessarily keep the Torah, but they desire to have you circumcised, that they may boast in your flesh. So they can boast about you. They can say, well, you're a work of my hands. You're a work of my, there's the sign in the flesh that you are serving me. But Elohim forbid that I should boast except in the execution stake of our Adon Yeshua HaMashiach, by whom the world has been crucified to me, and I to the world. So that's what we're talking about. Entering into the day of number 8, you're crucified in the flesh. You're dead to the world is dead to you, because you're in the beyond. You're in the ever after. There is no more world thing. So let's get right with that understanding today before anything further happens. For in Messiah Yeshua, neither circumcision nor uncircumcision avails anything, but what matters is a new creation. And you're changed from the inside out, not the outside in. Not by scoring points by doing a little surgical procedure. Again, not that the surgical procedure is to no effect. It says, yeah, it's good. If you keep the Torah, it's good. And what else does he say? He says circumcision is nothing, and uncircumcision is nothing. Okay? So uncircumcision is nothing, and what matters is keeping the Torah, keeping the whole of the Torah. If you keep the Torah, circumcision will come up eventually, or what have you. But it avails you nothing if you're not part of a new creation. If you're circumcised but not repentant, not making teshuvah, not walking in the ruach, not serving the one true Elohim, then your circumcision is useless. It's meaningless. It means nothing. These things only matter when they are together, when they are bound together. Torah obedience comes from a new heart that's been circumcised in the ruach. Okay? And as many as walk according to this rule, peace, and this is a lot of controversial points here, and as many as walk according to this rule, peace and mercy be upon them and upon the Israel of Elohim. As many as walk according to this rule, make halakha the way to walk, which is all about keeping Torah, keeping the instructions of Yah. Okay? Peace and mercy be upon them. Good. And instead of and upon the Israel of God, as if that was a separate category, because this verse has opened the door to many concerning replacement theology, that the church is replaced literal Israel of the true 12 tribes. And of course, that's foolishness. It's absolute foolishness. I'm going to read about that next in the book of Yamiyahu. Okay, so bear with me. So these people, who are these people? Who are these people? So circumcision without Messiah is nothing. Returning and the redeemed exiles of Israel are the Israel of Elohim. The Israel of Elohim. Okay? Why is it so hard for us to understand that, like when people say, well, I'm a Gentile believer, that's saying I'm a pagan believer. No, we are either part of the Commonwealth or part of the born seed of Israel. We are of Israel. And there are those who've been anti-Semitic, teaching all this nonsense over the years. They can't deal with this. They cannot deal with that. But if you are a believer in Yahuwah, there's no room for anything else. It doesn't say, I make a Brit Chadashah with the nations. No, let's go to Jeremiah 31. Okay. And this is fairly lengthy, but I'm just going to let the words speak. Okay. I'm going to start with verse 23. Thus says Yahuwah Tzvaot, Lord of hosts, the Elohim of Israel. They shall again use the speech in the land of Yehuda, in its cities, when I bring back the captivity. Okay. There's been a partial fulfillment of that regarding the Yehudim, the Jewish people. But guess what? What do you do with the rest of the tribes? What do you do with the rest of them? The northern kingdom, the 10 tribes have been sifted through the nations. Have they been wiped out? Are they all gone and extinct? And is Judah, the Jewish people, all that's left of all those prophecies concerning their numbers, like the stars in the heavens and the grains of sand on the beach? That's kind of a shortcoming. We got to fill it in somehow because it's not a true prophecy. There's a lot of Jewish people, but not that many. Whereas in the prophecy in Deuteronomy, it says the numbers will be tenfold. Let me just get that. Bear with me a second. Which means that today, in this day, there should be roughly 5 billion people who are not Yehudim, but Israelites. So how do we remedy that? Where are the true Israelites? Are they black? Are they white? Are they brown people? Yes. Are they Asians? Absolutely. Sifted through the nations. Okay. If I can find that verse. Oh, mama. That's the problem. My head wasn't planning on using this. Oh, mama. But saying 1,000 times over will be the blessing. Okay? May Yahuwah of your fathers make you 1,000 times more numerous than you are, and bless you as he has promised you. As he has promised you. 1,000 times more numerous than you are. So we have a certain number of those in Bamidbar, and you multiply that times 1,000, you wind up with in the neighborhood of 5 million. 5 billion rather, which is the majority of the world. So anyway, not all Israel is Israel, right? Because Israel still has to come back to who she is, who we are, regain our identity. Why do you think that all these people from all these backgrounds are all suddenly saying we need to keep Shabbat, we need to keep kashrut and not eat that stuff, we need to keep Torah? Where is this coming from? Anyway, here we go. Okay, speech in Yehuda in the cities when I bring them back their captivity. Yahuwah bless you, O home of justice and mountain of holiness, Kimitzion. And there shall dwell in Yehuda itself, and in all its cities together, farmers and those going out with flocks. For I have satiated the weary soul, and I have replenished every sorrowful soul. After this I awoke and looked around, and my sleep was sweet to me, says Yamiyahu, Jeremiah. Behold, the days are coming, says Yahuwah, when I will sow the house of Israel and the house of Yehuda with the seed of man and the seed of beast. Okay, so we went to kind of blessings to now looking at the reality of the fallen peoples and how they are really living instead of living in the promises of Yah. Okay, and it shall come to pass that as I have watched over them to pluck up, to break down, to throw down, to destroy, and to afflict, so I will watch over them and build and to plant, says Yahuwah. Okay, again, against the rebellion, against the punishment, against the diaspora, the casting away. Now comes the gathering. In those days, it says in that day, all Israel will be saved. Some people are wrestling with that, saying that all the numbers, every Israel person, no, all Israel. So in other words, there will be representatives of all the tribes of Israel, all the tribes. There won't be any tribe that does not have a person in the day 8 of the kingdom to come. Day 8, the eternity, right? Okay, in those days they shall no more. They shall say no more, the fathers have eaten our sour grapes, and the children's teeth are set on edge. But everyone shall die for his own iniquity. Every man who eats the sour grapes, his teeth will be set on edge. So again, individual responsibility. Okay, no more corporal punishment for the nation. It's going to be the individuals I'm going to set out and destroy if I need to. Behold, the days are coming. Again, this hine. The days are coming, says Yahuwah, when I will make a new covenant with the Gentiles who will replace my people Israel. No, it doesn't say that. It says, verse 31, when I will make a new covenant, the Brit Chadashah, with the house of Israel and with the house of Yehuda, the northern and southern tribes, equals 10. Yes, equals 12. We'll see if you're paying attention. Remember, I told you I was a math whiz. So the 12 tribes are recipients of this Berit if we accept its terms, and whether it's done that day or it's done now, today. You can accept the terms of the Brit Chadashah today. Okay? Not according to the covenant I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand and bring them out of the land of Egypt, Mitzrayim, my covenant, which they broke, though I was a husband to them, says Yahuwah. But this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, says Yahuwah. I will put my Torah in their minds and write it on their hearts, and I will be their Elohim, and they will be my people. Before I was talking about my constituents. It used to be that a governor or a mayor or an assemblyman or a senator would be responsible to their constituents. In essence, you look at him, their constituents, because he's reflecting them. He is their servant. They elect him. They're the ones who appoint him, and he's supposed to represent them. So when you see the shenanigans going on, you know that this is, again, an evil world, because we are his people. He is our leader, so we need to be like him. We should reflect him. He should reflect us. We are echad as a people. As I talked about before, the needs of one state from another. The people of Montana have different needs than those in Florida, Wisconsin, and Minnesota, Alaska. They all have different needs, different production, different work situations, and so on. Okay, and I was a husband to them. No more shall every man have to teach his neighbor, saying, no more shall every man teach his neighbor, and every man his brother, saying, know Yahuwah, know the Lord, for they shall all know me, from the least of them to the greatest of them, says Yahuwah. For I will forgive their iniquity, and the sin I will remember no more. Thus says Yahuwah, who gives the sun for light by day, and the ordinance of the moon and the stars for light by night, who disturbs the sea, and its waves roar. The Yahuwah Tzvaot is his name. And again, we know that in the day of the eighth day, the portentous day, we are told in the New Yerushalayim that the Lamb is its light source. Okay, so we see further growth from this, from the people looking forward to a Mashiach arriving on the scene to initiate a Brit Chadashah and to make the appropriate offering, in his case himself, to seal the deal. And later on, we see in the new heavens and the new earth. If those ordinances depart from me, from before me, says Yahuwah, from before my face, then the seed of Israel shall also cease from being a nation before me forever. Excuse me. Thus says Yahuwah, if heaven above can be measured, and the foundations of the earth searched out beneath, then I will cast off all the seed of Israel for all that they have done, says Yahuwah. So our guilt is worthy of destruction if we can know everything about the heavens and everything about this planet. We don't even know what's in the deepest sea, the Mariana Trench. We don't even know what's down there, let alone Tartaros, where the Malakim are being held, the Malakim of Satan. Okay. So people are saying, well, Israel is done with it. He says, look, if you can measure the heavens, if you can know everything about the earth, then I'll cast away my seed. Israel will not disappear. Israel is the majority of the population of the earth. And once we get to know our identity, then we'll be a force to be reckoned with. We'll be people returning to the land. That's the Aliyah. Right now we have Yehuda in 1948. In those years, in the late 40s, was also the time of the discovery of the caves of Qumran, in which, like Messiah, the word came forth from the cave, alive. The light of day fell upon these records, these great writings from antiquity, which have amazingly changed us forever. There's an old saying, you can't put the genie back in the bottle. We have these writings now. The book of Isaiah is kept intact, and it's the same. We have all these books that for one reason or another have not been published or considered canon, that were obviously available and believed in, and so on. Anyway, let me go on. Okay, verse 38. Behold, Hine, the days are coming, says Yahuwah, that a city shall be built for Yahuwah from the tower of Hananel to the corner gate. The survivors' line shall again extend forward over the hill Garev. They shall turn toward Gareth. Okay, so I'm going to stop there in this prophecy of Yamiyahu. As we see, the prophecy is there. It's there. Yahuwah made the covenant, the Brit Chadashah. Messiah says, I have been sent for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. When did he say he's going over any? And if there was an exception. Remember the 10 lepers, the one who turned back and came to bow to the feet of Messiah. He says, where are the others who have been healed? Only this foreigner? Only this foreigner? You're healed by the actions you have taken in response to your healing. But he was a foreigner. But that's good. A Ger Hagor is good. They've covenanted themselves to Yahuwah. That's a wonderful thing. And they will be grafted on. They are part of the Commonwealth. They are no longer goyim in that sense. They're no longer Gentiles. We say, well, I'm not Jewish, I'm a Gentile. It doesn't make sense. If you're a believer in Messiah, you are of Yisrael. You are of Yisrael. And if you've accepted the covenant terms, which were made for Israel and Yehuda, then you're in. You meet the terms, you become compatible to the Torah and to Messiah. You're in, man. You're in. Don't say, well, I wish I was Jewish. Oh, I should get circumcised because, you're looking for a physical action instead of being converted further in your heart and in your mind. So I'm going to stop there with that portion. How late are we talking about here?
It's 8:35.
8:35. So I got to wind down here. I got to wind myself down. And again, one of the beautiful things that Yahuwah refers to, I was a husband to them, which I think is really beautiful. And I'm going to just touch on Revelation 21. And why not, huh? Why not? That's what it's all about. That's the 8th day. That's the day beyond. Right now, we need to make sure that we're part of that first resurrection. That's what we're focusing on now. And that's why yesterday, the 7th day, was the day of the Hoshana Rabbah, when we acknowledge Messiah, we receive his kingship. During Sukkot is when Solomon had the temple dedicated and said, if there's if any of the nations happen to be passing by and they trust in you, Abba, and they turn to you, hear their prayer and heal them. So here we go, the healing and the salvation and the acknowledgement, and to know that we've been acknowledged. And it's a wonderful thing, and validated our existence. Revelation 21:1. Then now I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and there was no more sea. Then I, Yochanan, saw the holy city, the Kadosh, set apart city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven, for Elohim prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. Again, we have this bride and husband situation. And I heard a loud voice. Again, I mentioned earlier that's the teruah. Most of the times when we think of Yom Teruah, we think of the trumpets, the shofar, but the voice, the shout of the voice. When Messiah returns, it'll be to the shout of the voice. When Yehoshua surrounded Jericho, and on the 7th day did it 7 times, and his instruction was given by the man who was the Lord of the armies of Yah, told him that you blow the shofar, blow the trumpets, and then the people are to shout, and then the walls come down. So the voice, our voices mean something. That's why the Moedim, it says, you are to proclaim them at their appointed times, the appointed times at their appointed times. So that's what it's all about, and to get a deeper understanding of that. So listen up, as a bride for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from heaven saying, "Behold, Hine, the tabernacle, the sukkah, the huppah, the wedding chamber of Elohim is with man, and he will dwell with them, and they will be his people. Elohim himself will be with them, and be their Elohim. And the Elohim will wipe away their tears from their eyes, the tears of joy, notwithstanding, but the tears of sorrow and death, no more crying. There shall be no more pain. Behold, I make all things new." And I just want to touch base with one thing in addition to that, is the idea of the bride. We are described to be the bride. And the bride is kala. Okay? Kala is the word for bride, and which the kala means the goal of completion or perfection. It also, the root of that word is the goal, to the end, to begin again. The end, to begin again. And this, the eighth day, is also referred to as Simchat Torah, rejoicing in Torah. And what happens, what we used to do, is we used to finish Deuteronomy and then roll the scroll back to Bereshit, to Genesis 1:1, finish that last chapter, and go right to 1. So it goes right back, in a newness. And the next time we go through the cycle, we're more enlightened, we're more illuminated, we're more faithful. So each time we go through that cycle, the cycle of the Moedim, the cycle of the New Year's, and before you know it, we'll be celebrating Pesach again. But until then, this is the last of the Moedim. We celebrate Purim, we celebrate Chanukah, not as the world does. Be careful about that. But we do celebrate those. And so we do celebrate our gatherings. So the bride is the one who is brought to perfection, the goal and completion, perfected. And again, to end, to conclude. This is the purpose. Okay? And the bridegroom is Chatan, which the root of that word is to give away or to join. So he is the one who joins himself to you, Ish and Isha, husband and wife, man and woman, father and mother with their children. This is why the world hates the family. It hates the family because that's what Yah is all about. He's making a family. He's creating a family. We are sons and daughters to him, eventually fully and completely and literally in the resurrection. So as we go into the eighth day, we come out of the sukkah and we go into the heavens, and we dwell with Yahuwah forever and ever. Nothing to interrupt that perfect shalom harmony. Isaiah 4:8 says, "For overall the glory there will be a covering." For overall the glory there will be a covering, a canopy, a chuppah, a wedding chamber, and there will be a sukkah for shade during the days, and a refuge and a shelter, or a private, intimate, and secluded place at night. So he wants us to be with him. He's not lonely, desperate for our fellowship and our friendship, but he's there. He's offered us the passageway to eternity. And I pray that you bless this day, bless this eighth day, Shemini Atseret, the closing, the eighth day assembly, which is a closing ceremony. And if this is all new to you, get excited about these teachings. Not my teachings necessarily, but the teachings of Yah. Get to know these days. We have a whole backlog of all the Moedim. You can go check them out. If you missed them this year, they're, Yah willing, you will get a chance to celebrate them next year. But be faithful, be faithful. Keep the Moedim. Keep his Torah tot, his commandments. And the word for keeping is shamar, to guard, to protect, to look over, to observe. And he observes us. Hine lo yanum velo yishan, shomer Yisrael. He that keepeth Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. He guards us, he protects us. And he made the Shabbat holy, and he asks us, he commands us to keep it holy. Make it kadosh, make it set apart, make it distinct, make your life distinct. We are to be kadoshim, we're to be holy ones. And that the root of that, again, is to be set apart. We cannot hedge our bets or straddle the fence, which can be painful, especially for guys. But be mindful of these wonderful things. And again, for those who are really looking forward to delving back into Psalm 139, I apologize, but we don't want to waste our time. This is a moed. We need to keep it and move forward with this. Let me just see. It's Tov, Kol Israel, L'Oreal, Amen. Shalom, shalom. And thank you for having patience with us tonight. I was on the verge. I got to confess, I was literally on the verge. First hearing that Herman was in this virtual blackout, and then myself with the computer here and doing this. And we know the adversary wants to destroy our work and make it to no effect. And this is useless. Look at this knucklehead. Who's going to listen to anything that he's got to say? So I do thank you for watching over us. And again, those with Jackson and Felix, and I pray also for Richard, Cindy, Rose, Paul. I think they have Yohanan there too, and Yaakov. Was there a Yaakov? And Gilbert and Pat, and all those who've been watching over our time together, which has been relatively short. But I thank you so much for checking us out, for being with us, and we conclude this portion, and we give you thanks for watching and for having patience with us, and let us grow together. Let us grow together. Let's not stagnate. We got to press on. It's the higher calling. Pressing on does not mean standing still. Does not mean drifting back. We have to be making progress. We need to be moving forward. Amen. Thank you, Hank B. Thank you, Hank B. Willing to listen. That's good. We need to listen. We need to learn. We need to be teachable. You know, in the past couple of years, I've learned so much. I didn't say, well, no, that doesn't make sense to me. And yes, some of it sounded foreign to me, even, strange to me. But I was willing to prove all things, to test all things, to walk by faith and not by sight. And my life has been enriched by my willingness to say, Tov, good, let's do this. And by doing it, we get great blessings by doing in the doing. You show me your faith without works, and I show you my faith by the works, by the actions, by the accepting of the invitation to enter in to the 8th day, and just finding so much beauty in it, so much beauty in the growth and understanding that Yahuwah gives us. Okay, we're running just a tad late. Are we? It's 1:07. We had that little glitch. But I want to ask Patricia, are you there?
Yes.
There she is. I would like to ask you if you can say our closing prayer. Incidentally, if there's anyone there who has any questions before we sign off for the evening, let me know. Anyone on chat time have anything they'd like to give a quick question? Uh-oh. I hope I just didn't invite disaster here. The board will be lighting up, or not. If anyone has any questions, or I thank you for the comments in the chats tonight. I've had at least 4 people on here, and I'm thankful for you all for being here and for checking us out. Like I said, over this time that I've been doing this, we don't have to be your primary source or even your secondary source. If you check in with us from time to time, check us out, look at the subjects that we're covering and carrying, and check it out. We function completely by faith in this. There's no reason why we should be doing this, frankly. With health challenges and all these other things, there's no reason why we should be, invading your homes right now, wherever you might be. But we thank you for that. We thank you for your patience, and pray for us. We pray for each other. Patricia, if you would do us the honor, please.
Yes. Avinu Malkeinu, our Father and our King, Creator of the heavens and the earth, I praise you for who you are. You are the one and only Elohim, a way maker and a miracle maker. Father, thank you for the blessing of prayer, and bless each family here tonight. Father, we ask you to be with Herman and his family during that blackout, Father. May they soon get their power back on. And I ask you to bless each family here tonight. We thank you for this opportunity to open up your word and study it.
Yes.
We thank you for all things. To Elohim be the glory. In Yeshua's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, sister.
Well,
Thank you, sister. Amen. So once again, we say thank you to Todah Rabah for watching us and checking us out. We will be here in the same exact vicinity on Shabbat morning at 11 a.m., where we do our full-blown service, where we do into a lot more detail. We try to be brief. We don't want to be overwhelming. And we thank you for those who have been faithful and have been checking in on us. And again, I thank you, all the brethren. I've had so many good feedback, and that's good. But you have any questions or any problems with anything that I'm doing, I'll let you. I'd reluctantly like to hear that as well. But be with us whenever you can, and check us out in midweek or whenever you can. We're there on our YouTube channel, so we thank you. So again, I just pray that all is well with you, that you keep the faith, be stronger, be encouraged. Greater is he that is in you than he that is in this world. We are to be people of the eighth day, not of this world, not worried about the stuff of this world. Let us be focused on following our wonderful Abba and what he wants us to be doing. Let us be aware of our calling. So again, I say thank you. And we say Laila Tov, Ulahitraot. We say good night, and we will check you out again. And Yahuwah willing, we will be on next Wednesday at 7:30 p.m., prepared and equipped to, knock your socks off with an intense teaching from Psalm 139. And we can help reimburse you for the quality of your socks. If your socks are literally, blown off or whatever, we will help pay for that. So we say, Laila Tov, and Shalom, shalom. Be well, brethren.
Shalom, shalom.
Amen.